Okay, so now I will invite Todi Pruteanu, Managing Director CE at FintechOS, to join me on the stage. And just to go through one of the reasons we gather here today, it's thanks for coming. It's the digital banking scorecard, and it's our report created in partnership with FintechOS, which analyzed the progress of Romanian digital banks. So from 1 year to another, we see what innovations are bringing to the market, and we try to assess them on a quantitative, and this year it's a first qualitative basis. So just to go very short on this year's report, you will see it on the screen, but most important, you can download it from futurebanking.ro on the report sections. So we've done this analysis of main features of digital banks, but also we did an in-depth research on open banking, and here I must thank to IT Smart Systems for joining us in assessing what banks are doing in open banking sector. I mean, we have had in mind that banks are also consumers of open banking data, but also they put the APIs to other parties. So we assessed this kind of interactions with third parties. So you will see there all the criteria for assessing open banking. Also, we have a deep dive on the user experience of the 10 traditional banks we highlighted in the report, and the 3 challengers banks. And here I will have a big thanks to Promocrat, growth agencies that helped us with analyzing the user experience of the banks. So we had to analyze what banks sent us, I mean videos of different flows, and all the evaluation was based on this kind of videos. And if the video was missing, we have a not available score. But without much words about the report, I will switch to Todi, and I will ask you about how do you see all this progress in digital banking? I mean, looking at the Romanian digital banking from 1 year to another, may not be a very major change in innovation and different features, but looking back, like maybe 5 years ago, what do you see now?
Well, thanks for having me on the stage. Just looking at how fast you scroll, I think we would need a small AI embedded to read and capture the relevant data for each of us. I had colleagues before the event asking me, how does it look? What are the results and so on. I would like to make a comment that this is a study that we support. Mm-hmm. It's not a study that FintechOS drives, and it's not a study that FintechOS actually influences in any way. I'd like to congratulate you for the fact that you added qualitative aspects this time, which I know that are appreciated things by the banks who are part of the research. Your question was, progress, 12 months progress, or how we look at it. I think if we picture ourselves a couple of years back, we can only see that there's a big amount of progress, and I think, like many things that you do in life with high enthusiasm, all of the initial digital banking efforts were addressing quite a broad array of topics and issues. And what we could see in the past years, and certainly we see it in this year, is a more pragmatic approach to where do I invest. Mm-hmm. So if I can say, it's a shift from being very aspirational about what digital banking can do to a more pragmatic approach. So for instance, I'm a bank, I work quite a lot with particular segments, and I use digital to go to new channels. This is something that we still see happening this year, and it's a reflection of a pragmatic approach to the business, or alignment, deepen the alignment with the strategy. In terms of results, I think we are getting there. The fact that you added this year the UX angle, and congratulations to Promocrat for that. I think it's a pain that everyone witnesses. The fact that, it does not take just the technology, it does not take just, making a process from analog to digital, but it takes, user interviews, it takes a bit of understanding of what are the expectations, the behaviors of your target audience, and embed that into the process. And I think if you talk to any business owner of onboarding or any product that you want to sell online, UX gets more and more as a topic. And thankfully we have quite, very good companies, service providers in this area. We too in FintechOS created this service line because we realized just selling a technology is not going to help us on the long term.
Okay, from the report we can see now that 9 out of 10 banks in Romania have a self-enrolling process for new clients, while the digital loan origination became prevalent, and it's offered by the majority of the top 10 players. Not all of them in the report, but not all the top 10 banks in the market. But we don't see the same level of innovation on the SME side. And here's my question: what frictions are present in this niche, and how can banks overcome them?
Well, onboarding and selling to SMEs online, I think it's a more complex topic. And it also has to align with the opportunity for each bank. When I say it's a bit more complex, it's because the process in itself, it's more tedious. When you onboard an SME, you have to rely on more data points that you actually do for onboarding a private individual. And here, I think the state, the public institutions can do a better job in exposing data. We are still skyscraping for some information. The frequency with this, how frequent the data is published and updated is still an issue, and you all know it if you've been in this process. But we're getting there. I'd like to take the upside, the positive aspects of here, and certainly we see a progress across the board. So I think what we see more pragmatic initiatives into launching digital propositions for SMEs. And we certainly see a shift from not only accommodating these business processes in the branch or in assisted channels, but also to online. In the same time, I know that we're talking here about a digital conference, but in the same time we see customers taking a modernization approach to existing applications as well. So I've been recently with a bank who was present here. The lending process in the branch, 25 steps, new approach, less than 10, more streamlined, less visits, faster access to cash, faster access to benefits. So it's not just a digital component. I think it's a mindset shift, and I think banks are learning from good and bad things that happen in the online to adopt on the branches or on the assisted channels.
Okay, I wanted also to ask you about this year. So we think that 2023 will be at least as challenging as 2022. So banks will consider different aspects when deciding to start new digital transformation projects. But we have like 10 banks in the report that we consider to be the most important digital banks in Romania. So the rest of the banks, we have like 20-something banks in Romania, and the rest of them are missing here because one of the main reasons is because they don't feel confident to show the progress they've done in the last years. So they don't have enough digital touch points, let's say, and digital features that will consider to be enough to show in this kind of report. what would you recommend to maybe a tier 2 bank that is not yet fully digital to do in the next period, and what will be the must-have digital flows to deploy?
Well, I like your comment on challenging. It depends on who you ask about 2022 being challenging. I love to see some balance sheets from 2022. Does not look that challenging, especially for the audience here. But yeah, in terms of budget availability and in terms of pragmatism and prioritization, definitely. Look, I was in discussions with a bank that is not part of the research, and they said that for us to go digital and implement at speed those processes, it's a matter of survival. It does not matter only from a new avenue for acquiring customers, selling products, and so on, but it's a matter of public perception and an expectation from your clients, irrespective if we talk about private individuals or businesses. So definitely, the fact that some of the banks are a bit behind, I think there's an advantage there as well. One might be up with the new ADR regulation of e-identity verification for onboarding. One might be up there with the new APIs exposed by enough. One might be up there selecting from a broader set of technology vendors that grew in maturity and in implementation mindset with some of you here. So definitely some of the things that took 6 months to be done, 3 years, now they take something like 3 to 4 months, depending also on organizational capability. So it's not that bad. What we see is, going back to your question, what would be the approaches for a tier 2, tier 3? I think it always has to be aligned with the strategy of the company, with the specific customer segment that you look at, with the specific product lines that you want to provide to the market, and with your specific competitive angle. I mean, I'm learning that each of you have, 2 or 3 competitors that you are looking at. If one of my competitors is launching something, then I need to assess my position. Do I go there? How do I differentiate? And so on and so forth. So the good thing is technology is there. Beyond that, I would say experience in the market, either people working in the banking system or in the technology sector or regulators and so on. That type of experience certainly is available. And I think each of us can be more aggressive with the timelines in terms of how fast we can expect the results. And if I can say as a proposal, I know that you're focusing more on banks here, but I think there are new players, I'm just thinking about EMAG these days, who are super aggressive in this financial services space and delivering outstanding customer service as well for the type of products that they expose to their customers. So I think as a suggestion for you in the future, you might want to broaden a bit the selection scope, because I think there are so many things that we can learn each from the other.
Yeah, very true. I mean, I'm EMAG, and I think that there's someone from EMAG here.
I'm just saying.
No, but I'm pretty sure that it is. I mean, we can expand this analysis to other players, and this will be for sure beneficial to all the banks and financial institutions. But I wanted also to pinpoint what will be the arguments, because we've seen nowadays a more risk-adverse environment, at least in banking, and we know why with the recent events. But what will be the arguments to go full speed in digital transformation in 2023?
Well, we thought about it quite a lot as we were planning 2023. We had a couple of iterations, just like most of you. Here are some couple of things that we observe. We see more digital being part of the overall mechanism. We see less digital being a different arm or a different motion within companies than within banks and credit institutions that we used to see in the past. And it makes sense. A couple of years back, you wanted to make a cultural shift. You wanted to super prioritize this motion, and it makes sense back then. Now, I think we see quite a lot of consolidation. And that's for the benefit of the organizations, because talent from the digital and the experience in the digital space can certainly help in streamlining other business processes. For us, transformation, digital transformation is, it's super abused term, but what we see as an opportunity for us is the fact that now that digital is not separated, transformation can take the, if I can put it, can take a front to back approach. Okay. So, channels and audiences, products, which type of products do I prioritize and so on, and also back office and core systems. We talk a lot about modernization, and there's a keyword from Doru, our CEO, in this report as well. Modernization is in the sense of do more with less. Pay attention more to high efficiency topics in the organization. Don't over-rely on the existing technology stack that we used for so many years. There's a decomposition aspect that takes place with many of the organizations that we talk here. For instance, we work with organizations where we might do onboarding, we might help selling a financial product online, but we might also do a servicing, a core or link core capability attached to that product, and eventually dumping data into GL and system of records. That is to gain speed, and that is to gain efficiency on how you operate front to back. And I think we are still having a big inertia here, thinking that that's the core banking, these are the guys who are providing the scripts, these are the people in digital. I think this will go away incrementally, and I think organizations that will master this and will prioritize this will have an edge. So that's definitely an area that probably you know, but your younger competitors, your disruptors in the market have that approach. Yeah? And I know that you have a very fast learning curve to learn from disruptors in the market, and certainly I would see this happening into the larger organizations.
Okay. Another question, it's about UX. I mean, we try to analyze a lot of onboarding and digital loan origination flows this year, but and we've seen some very high and average scores there, but from the point of view of simplifying a digital flow so users can enjoy opening an account or getting a loan, it's not just about UX after all. What are the best practices you recommend here?
Well, I think there will be many from the audience, and I know some of you will speak later today to talk about best practices. Let us start with the identity verification of the individuals. It's a first process, and I know it still provides headaches to some of the organizations present. I think it's a great thing that we have a norm for remote identity verification that came into effect last year. That certainly helped on correcting some of the, let's say, abuses or gray areas that some of the organizations approached in the past. But I think it's just the first step. We provided this feedback to ADR. If we look at France, for instance, and I think Valentina from Aria Next can talk about it later, France has about 6 different identity verification schemes serving different business processes for the same category of credit institutions. And I think this is something that we can learn from. Having a very solid, rigorous, complex remote identification mechanism is great, but it might be that you don't want to employ the same for lightweight type of products that you sell, lightweight consumer touch points that you implement. And I think this is an area that can be improved. And it's something that first the regulator has to push and make available in the market, and I'm quite convinced that they will work on that. Secondly, supporting this cause is the availability of the new identity cards, which will massively simplify how you do verification. And hopefully we will see those identity cards with NFC records that will make it easier for all of you to onboard your customers. Next, I think you have to think about what's your friction index with your customers? How much pain do they have to endure to actually onboard to your service and purchase something from you? And I think here some of the organizations learn that, becoming digital is not just taking an analog process and, reflecting the same 20 steps there, but actually thinking how can you improve, how can you, allow for a later on touch point to be activated with your customer. Do not ask all of the questions in the world from the first experience, because that's something that's perceived as cumbersome. And we're working on a friction score with the implementations, and I think also Promocrat has a similar approach to that, which is at least set some baseline in terms of how you want to implement those new products and services. Thirdly, I know Banca, Transilvania, I know many of you do that, invest in the internal UX practices. I think it makes a lot of sense as you are becoming digital product providers or software houses, technology companies by yourselves. You have to invest into this practice. Don't think about it as an afterthought, like typically security is also considered. Like, I'm waiting up until the last pen test in the world to see what happens. Security, UX, other non-functional areas are critical to be embedded as early as possible into the overall. And again, there's practice here, there's talent, there are providers that you can work with. It's just a matter of making the right plan from day one. Okay,
now I will ask you maybe a tricky question. I don't know.
I love tricky questions.
But as a technology partner, you can easily see where banks' budgets are heading. So at least
I wish. Yeah.
I didn't say you can influence them, but at least you can see if the digital transformation budgets are heading to different types of flows, different products, and different touch points where they try to improve the client's experience. So what have you been noticing in the last year, which was a very good year in terms of P&L? So as you said, it was a very good year, so maybe the budget had been aligned with future plans, and they have reserves there that now is the time to be invested in another digital transformation project.
Well, I wish it was like that, yeah. But you all know that, back in Q4 last year, even beginning of the year, you fought hard for your budgets, for your transformation budgets, technology, empowerment for all of the business initiatives. So I would say it's a comment that I made at the beginning. It's, organizations are looking for higher efficiency. If I am onboarding someone online, I need a better conversion rate. If I'm selling a product, I need a better analytics to tell me what's the product that's performing, what's the product that's not performing, and so on. So if I am to summarize, I would call it efficiency. And sometimes we see that organizations are thinking, maybe I'm good in the front, digital channels and so on, but I'm missing a big opportunity in terms of efficiency in the back. Yeah, so there are still many highly repetitive tasks out there. Still many people blocked into highly manual processes that are affecting, the overall profitability and efficiency of certain business processes. Certainly, this is an area where we see banks are investing. And we have seen early signs of decomposition. I don't want to depend on my guys in the back to have a process end to end. We see finally some true omnichannel activity. I'm not saying in a bad word, but I'm saying in a good sense that true omnichannel means all of your channels are managed from one place. There's a performance indicator that pool that you look across all of these channels and for all of the products that you want to work with. And again, that's about bringing people together, bringing processes together, and allowing as much as possible for the same technology stack to serve all of these aspects. I wish I could provide you better answers. Certainly, Q1 has been a very, eventful quarter for us in terms of initiatives, RFPs, new areas in which customers are looking to invest their money. But I also see decisions are not necessarily the fastest ones. Yeah? So going back to efficiency, going back to how hard some of the budgets were obtained, I think you want to make sure that you are selecting the right setup, technology, services, and so on to make it happen.
Okay, thanks. Interestingly, what you've said about the back end of these processes, that maybe is not what we users are seeing, and we don't know how what was done in that area, and it's one of my regrets that we couldn't see in the report all the progress that banks did in the back end. So we just see the tip of the iceberg. But maybe for next year's edition.
Definitely, it's an area for you to explore.
Yeah, thanks Todi for being here and for the lovely chat.
My pleasure, and thanks everyone for participating today. And look, congratulations for the hard work. I was with a chief digital officer when the pandemic started, and he was saying, we are asked to do miracles every day. Pandemic passed, but you are still asked to do miracles. Yeah. So congratulations for all of the hard work and results, and I count on a collaboration with you going forward. Thanks a lot.
Thanks.